Hey everybody, welcome to Authors and Dragons Side Quest, the in-between episodes of the game. Tonight, I'm John Hartness. I'm actually John Hartness every night, but especially tonight. And joining us, we have Rick Gualateri, Steve Wetherill, Robert Bevan, and Drew Hayes. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, friends.
Hello, multiple Johns.
I would like to clarify I'm mostly Drew Hayes, but sometimes I'm John Hartness. It really depends on how the week goes.
That's fine. You can be me sometimes. You know, if you're me sometimes, that would up my convention attendance, which is pretty relevant given what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah, sorry, John. I'm too busy being Robert Bevan full-time to ever be you.
That's fine. Drew has fabulous hair, and yeah, we'll just leave that alone.
I'm never, ever Rick Gualtieri.
So, by now, most of you have probably already seen the announcement that Authors and Dragons Con 2020 has now been postponed to Authors and Dragons Con 2021. We are moving the event 51 weeks in the future. We're going to take place August 6th through 8th. Same place, Nashville, Tennessee, same hotel, the Inn at Opryland. And we didn't come to this lightly by any stretch. We've talked about it on several occasions internally. We've talked about it with the hotel. And we just don't know where we're going to be in August as far as nationwide travel, as far as international travel.
We know where we're not going to be. Nashville.
We're not going to be in Nashville. I mean, I might. Fuck it. I might still drive to Nashville, but...
there's one really good, big upside here. Now nobody can bitch that we didn't give them enough notice.
That's right. You have plenty of time to request that PTO, y'all. A lot goes into making a convention happen, and one of the reasons that we chose August was it was pretty much the earliest that I could possibly help coordinate a convention after producing Saga, the writing conference that I'm producing this March. Well, we're also not producing Saga in 2021, so I've got plenty of time to work with the guys and get all of our A&D Con 2020 digital content lined up and make sure that all of the logistics for A&D Con 2021 are as badass as we can make it.
So you're not doing Saga in 2021?
We're not going to do Saga in 2021. For the same reasons, except that we're not doing A&D Con this year, except it's that I don't know how far out I can get people. A lot of 2020 events are being pushed to different weekends and very different times of the year. So I don't know if the faculty that I want for Saga 2 is going to be available. I don't know what the venue availability is going to be either. So we're going to skip a year with Saga and bring that event back in 2022. Once we've had a year of traveling and getting people booked into flights and hotels and hopefully got a vaccine and treatment, and all of this is another disease that we can deal with as opposed to a really scary virus. So, yeah, we're skipping a year for Saga.
I just think like 15 years from now, our kids grown up, they're like, yeah, I don't know what your problem was, old man. I had COVID twice this past weekend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just going to say, we might get to that, there's a lot of things that used to kill a lot of people that now we have treatments for. Stupid, we still can't treat. however.
Yeah, we, of course, did not want to do this. We're really, really hoping things would even out. I mean, we said early on that, when this was happening in March and August seemed so far away, hey, if this is still a concern by the time A&D Con rolls around, we've clearly got bigger worries. And, yeah, we've got bigger worries. We weren't wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
depressingly right.
Yeah.
This we were correct about. Great. I missed a lot of lotto tickets with about the same odds.
Yeah. I mean, plenty of people can say they predicted that a pandemic was coming, but nobody could have seen this perfect storm of fuckery that the world is living through right now. And even if we could have, hell, who knows if people would have made the changes to their daily lives to keep it from spreading. I don't know.
Yeah, I was talking to some friends who work in education about just how, this last basic semester or chunk of schooling for most districts was basically a waste, a write-off. Screw it, everybody's good. Like, you get what you get and pass it on, because there wasn't any sort of comprehensive plan to cope with suddenly not having a physical location in place, because of course there wasn't. If someone had suggested that, you would have thought they were fucking bananas.
Right. I mean, if you had ever suggested that there would be a NASCAR race in front of empty stands, you would have said, "Are you fucking stoned? What's wrong with you?"
This is why people don't travel back in time. They just get made fun of.
God, you might be right. What you say? Rats carrying the plague? What Sillery?
No, I will cure this with leeches. I don't want to hear about your moldy bread thing.
So with the the news broken out of the way, we should move on to, let's hit the logistics. So if you are someone who has purchased a ticket for Authors and Dragons Con and you didn't catch the announcement and you're thinking, well, what happened to my tickets?
You have an email in your inbox using the email that you signed up for the tickets with.
It says, sucker.
So go read your email. But in short, if you would like to roll that ticket over to A&D Con 2021, all you have to do is let us know. You don't have to do anything. I have gone into Eventbrite and updated the event with the new dates, with the new name, with the new graphic. Your ticket that you have purchased for 2020 is good for 2021. If you would like a refund because you know you can't make it August 6th through 8th, 2021, or you don't know what your availability will be, then reply to that email and let us know, and we'll refund your ticket.
That said, the hotel is not us.
Right. The hotel is, if you have a reservation with the hotel, you can still cancel that reservation.
As of this recording and airing.
As of this recording and airing. The cutoff date for cancellations was supposed to be July 24th. So if for some reason you're catching up late and it's the 10th of July, get on that shit and cancel your reservation if you're not going to be in Nashville. Or just go to Nashville and stay at the Inn at Opryland. I mean, looks like a really nice hotel.
You just know there's going to be at least one person who shows up and is like, where the fuck is everybody?
Yeah, that's actually what I want to talk to you guys about when we get past the baseline logistics, is what travel and life will look like sort of going forward as we learn to live in this new reality. But Let's see. Did we have any other things? We hit the hotel thing. We got the tickets. Yeah, we might as well just roll on into it.
Virtual con.
Virtual con, that's right. So while we are postponing Authors and Dragons Con, as it's known, as it's happened, as it's been beloved for its many, many one-storied year of existence, we are also aiming to deliver on what we promised, which was content and amusement and fun and interconnectivity in the community on that weekend. So it wouldn't really be right to say it's still the same thing, but we are going to hold an Authors and Dragons digital convention on the planned dates. And so what that entails will probably be a little bandied about through here. We're working on a lot of the logistic stuff, but the overall macro goal is to provide what you would expect from a convention, which is to say panels, some games, some socializing elements, and general fun like that. Now, how much and where it will be, I think a lot of it will probably end up being streamed via our YouTube, just because that is the channel that we best understand how to access, and, well, let's be honest, we're trying to drive traffic there. It's our one major video outlet at this point.
Yeah.
Yep. Beyond that, I would imagine there's probably going to be some activity within the Discord community, as that is the biggest part of where our fans are, and it's very easy to work with them. They're often our beta audience for a lot of activities and stuff. So,
well, they're the biggest part of where our paid fans are.
Yes. So you might want to jump on that beforehand, but there will not be any sort of ticket required. The YouTube streams will be free, etc. We will aim to make as much of the content as publicly available as possible for this. So that is the overview, and to be frank, at this point, overview is mostly what we have, because we're still sort of recovering from the shift from the planned con to the digital.
Yeah. As with so many things on this podcast, yeah, we're figuring it out. 5 years later, we finally almost know how to work our character sheets.
Y'all are getting there, closer and closer. So let's kind of jump on in. Like, John, I feel like you will probably be one of the first ones for us. I actually still have a trip on the books right now. I have paid for a flight and a hotel room in Vegas that does not have as generous of a cancellation policy as the ones we have for our convention. But I was going to do, I believe, A&D Con in Las Vegas in the end of June. And that got canceled. But again, I still sort of have a trip paid for that I'm not sure how much back I can get. So it's sort of a debating thing. If they have safe procedures and everything in place by then, I might consider it. Obviously, if they don't, fuck that. But, as we move forward, it does sort of feel like we're going to have to learn to live in this world safely, but still live in it. And yeah. John, I really wanted to get your perspective on that, because traveling is a big part of your job. Like,
this period of time, we're now 10 weeks from the last time I spent a night not in my own home. This is the longest period of time that I have had without some type of travel since I graduated college. I've always traveled. I've never in my adult life been home this long. It's driving me nuts. Save me. But anyway, now that said, I drive almost everywhere. So the idea of a lot of my concerns for travel would be airports and airplanes, because airlines are a business and it's going to be almost impossible to have any level of social distancing on a profitable airline flight. They cram you in there like sardines for a reason, because jet fuel's expensive, not because they're paying their.
Yeah, how do you think it's going to cope? Because, the only real way for that to shift is just fill less seats, charge more per ticket.
I think that's exactly what they're going to do.
They're going to charge you for those fucking pretzels.
I think that they probably will fill fewer seats and charge more for tickets, at least as a trial balloon. I think we'll see a lot of different things. You'll see some folks try to book a full flight, try to book a normal flight. And then if they only sell 50% capacity, then I would expect them to back that down and sell fewer tickets and raise the price to try and get to the same level of profit.
Yeah, which doesn't strike me as a way that's going to really work.
But I don't know what they're doing now.
Well, right now there's just no demand, so it's not an issue. Like,
Yeah.
There's all kinds of like stories and everything from people who are working as flight attendants and whatnot, and they're having to cancel a lot of flights. I mean, because pretty much every state is in some form of lockdown. Travel right now is pretty much only people who have to travel, because even if you wanted to, even if you wanted to fly to New York City right now, what the fuck are you going to do there?
Yeah.
Stay in quarantine for 2 weeks.
Exactly. Like that's the whole thing, is like all the vacation hotspots. I mean, I guess that's probably changing with like the Florida ones and whatnot, but
I guess I'd film the sequel to I Am Legend, because
You couldn't do a worse job.
but looking at conventions, I mean, I've already had cancellations out into 2021. I've had 2021 conventions already say, "Hey, we're pushing to 22." So
you said you
and
have had, or you have not had any that pushed to 22? I'm sorry.
I've had two currently.
Damn.
Yeah. One that I was confirmed for and one that I was looking at attending have pushed to 2022. And that really shook me. That surprised me a lot. I didn't expect that. I did the math. I drew out a panel room, roughly I drew out a 180 person theater style panel room with an aisle down each side and an aisle down the center, and table up front, set up like a normal panel room. Then I started killing chairs to provide some level of distancing. All right, start by taking out every other row, because you can't have somebody sitting 3 feet behind somebody else. Then take out every third seat. You end up at about 1/3 the room's capacity in a reasonably distanced setup. Nobody can afford to book that, because if you expect a 75 person panel attendance, you book a room that can hold 85 or 90 people. You don't book a room that can hold 200 to 250 people, because you can't afford it. So a lot of things are going to have to change, and I think that there are a lot of different kinds of conventions, and most of the conventions I attend are not going to be all that affected long term. Cons like A&D Con, we've just got to figure out a couple of logistical things to safely have the event and to safely get everybody there and home. Conventions like Dragon Con, conventions like Emerald City Comic Con, New York Comic Con, San Diego, where you are asshole to elbow with 100,000 people for a week. Those are the events that I don't know if they can recover.
Yeah, we were talking about this. Emerald City is currently, as of this recording, rescheduled for late August. And I mean, I don't know anything about the staff or the state, but no fucking way seems like a pretty fair guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Gen Con was scheduled for late July, and they've already canceled. And they're about the same size. It's about 50,000 people.
Yeah, I love Emerald City. I've gone for several years. I have a badge, for this year before everything, of course, went to hell. But I hate to say that, because I would love to see it safely done, but I would hate to see it done unsafely. And there's just too many.
Yeah. I mean, you essentially have to have like a lottery for tickets or something.
Or run it in shifts, like one weekend for, like, have it spread it over 2 weekends and cut everything in half or something, but then you double your overhead, of course.
Right. I mean, and vendors can't do that because You going to fly across the country and stay there for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's some cities I wouldn't mind so much. But yes, logistically, that's probably not a great solution.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the thing. It's like, a lot of vendors just barely getting by as it is. You cut their attendance by by 2/3.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. That's one thing that we're looking at. As things stand today at this recording, Con Raleigh is still scheduled to happen the end of July. We bought a double booth at that convention based off of last year's attendance, which was 40,000 people. Our idea was, okay, next year it'll probably be 10% growth, gets them close to 45,000 people. If we buy a bigger space, we'll get better placement. All right, we'll shell out for a big booth, and we'll be up near the front of the room, and it'll be expensive, but we can make it back. That we won't make it back if 10,000 people come through the doors.
You know what somebody needs to do? Say, screw the hotels. Get some land at a national park and hold Tent-A-Con.
Festival vibe.
Yeah, you blend the Cthulhu fans and the campers all in one con.
Yeah, bring all the LARPers in.
Oh, well, Pensick is the big SCA thing, and that's canceled for this year. So I don't know what everything's going to look like a year from now. We're still in the early stages of reopening sections of the country. So we don't know what effect that's going to have. But my vast scientific polling method, I posted something on my Facebook.
Oh, I was going to bring this up, yeah, because you got a lot of feedback on what would make people feel safe at a convention.
Yeah, I posed the question last week when we started talking to the hotel and we got to the point where, okay, I think we probably need to do this. Well, I posted to my Facebook, hey, what would make you feel safe going back to a convention? The number one answer was a vaccine. That's not a 2021 solution.
Very unlikely.
I mean, we've never created a vaccine in less than 4 years. So if you cut that time in half, you're looking at 2022 before a safe vaccine hits the market. And then you're out, and then it's out immediately. So you're looking at 2023 with a vaccine fast-tracked before it's distributed.
Maybe some of you will get it early if you have that J.K. Rowling cocaine statue money.
If you do, you have your own island and you have all the social distancing you want.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking is the vaccine is a nice long-term one, but, 3 years, we're just sort of going to have to find safe ways to continue existing in the world.
Yeah, we are. We've got to figure out, well, so we're less than 6 months into this disease. We still don't really know very much about it. We can extrapolate things about the behavior of this disease by looking at other coronaviruses. But there's still lots of things we're figuring out. Can you get it from doorknobs? Can you not get it from doorknobs? Do you need to wear a mask? Do you not? Can it be aerosolized through ventilation systems? Can it not? All of those questions need to be answered, and all of those answers take research and time. It was March before we knew there was a problem that needed to be answered, before we started knowing the questions. We're not going to have the answers by September.
I'm just going to put this out there, but has anyone actually tried leeches?
Oh.
Only
Yeah, sort of-
metaphorically.
Yeah. So that brings us around again. Like it's the. I definitely want to stress. I am in no way advocating that people like get out before there are safe ways to do so. Like in the same way that we now go to the grocery store with masks and gloves and 6 feet of distance and stuff, because that's how we go to the grocery store now.
Right.
I am very much advocating this, like learning to do all this safely, not Russian bullshit. Cannot be clear enough on that. But again, like trying to take the longer term view. So outside of a vaccine, do you think there is a version of cons over these next few years? I mean, like we can we've got some ideas for ours because we have such absolute control. It's our convention. And we have a lot of faith in our fan base who's going to show up to that after interacting with them and everything. They're good. They're reasonable people. We trust them that if we say, please do this for everyone's safety, they're going to listen.
And
we
there's not
trust
yet
that they
50,000 of them.
Yeah, smaller. That helps.
And we trust that they will take in enough alcohol to kill anything.
A&D Con 2021. Nothing under 80 proof allowed.
You must be this shit-faced to enter.
I do think that there's a version of cons over the next couple of years. I don't think that there's I don't think that 50,000 person cons happen until there's a vaccine.
No,
I think conventions shrink dramatically.
Yeah, big cons are a powder keg. And the more people you have, the more chance people are going to do something stupid.
I mean, I don't know. Rick, did you get the notification last year that there was measles at Dragon Con?
There was?
Look, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just got it now.
Yeah. There was measles at Dragon Con. There was a lot of freaking out in the vendor room because that's where it was discovered that somebody who was a vendor had the measles. Yeah, that's bad. So, yeah, I think that most of the events that I attend are under 2,000 people. And I believe that by late spring of 2021, we will have figured out how to do that safely. The choke points of those events are your vendor room, your opening ceremonies, and your big party events. You can control vendor room entry, and you can control entry into all of those things. You can set up TVs to rebroadcast your opening ceremonies for people in satellite rooms. And you can do the same thing for your parties. You can spread them out to different rooms. So I think that you can manage social distancing and limit transmission in a convention under 2,500 people without too much difficulty. That said, if I have a close member of my family who's undergoing chemo or is dramatically immunocompromised, I'm still not going to go.
Yeah, and security is going to need to be really on the ball, basically. It's like, these are the rules. You don't follow them, you're out.
Yeah, it's going to have to be non-negotiable. Just like you can't walk around with a cosplay weapon that's not peace bonded in some way. If the con says wear a mask, you have to wear a mask, or you leave.
Yep, 100%.
And
the problem is going to be outside the con, where the con does not control. Because every con, you get some dipshits protesting. But I could see this potentially causing issues.
Yeah, I can too. But
there's a limit to what you can control.
Yeah,
from the perspective of a con runner, I can't control the assholes that aren't my assholes. I can control my idiots. Your idiots are your problem. So, yeah, I think that what I call the Starfucker cons, where you've got people standing in line for 3 hours and paying $100 to get David Tennant to get a picture with David Tennant. I think that shit's gone the way of the dinosaur until there's a vaccine and a viable treatment.
People waiting 3 hours to see the Green Ranger, except he's still wearing his Green Ranger mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine the people who normally do that want to shake hands with a line of strangers for 3 hours right now.
No.
Like, Jesus.
Well, think about us. I mean, we don't. Well, at A&D Con, the first A&D Con, we actually had lines, which was kind of mind blowing. But under normal conventions, I mean, we're still meeting people. We're still having people coming up and saying, "Hey, man, can I get a picture? Can I shake your hand?" It goes all the way down the food chain.
Yeah. I mean, I did a con in Virginia right before when things were just starting to hit these shores. Like the weekend that the first person in the U.S. died from this disease. I was at a con in Virginia. I didn't shake a single person's hand all weekend. We passed out hand sanitizer and encouraged social distancing, even though we didn't really have that phrase in our vocabulary yet, at Saga this year. We said, hey, no handshakes, don't hug, keep your distance, and I think that it's just going to be a lot of that.
I think Bob's going to do best in this because he's going to be the one who has a sign that just says "Back the fuck up, motherfucker."
Yeah.
I'm just generally unapproachable.
I mean, what do you guys think? I know you don't do quite as many events as I do. But...
my problem is it's twofold. One, it's and at this point, I think I announced it most places. My mother died from COVID about a little more than 3 weeks ago. And two, so that kind of hits home. But two, my wife, she watches over an immunocompromised person. That's kind of her day job. And I think it's kind of a case where either I come back from a con and I pretty much just lock myself in the garage for 2 weeks, or I don't go.
Yeah. I mean, we have friends with dramatically immunocompromised children. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Quarantine themselves from their kid for 2 weeks? I mean, one of my friends has essentially been quarantined from her kid for most of 2 months.
Oh, that's horrible.
A good friend of mine is an ICU nurse, and that's pretty much been her life. Basically setting up a portion of their house as kind of an apartment, and no contact.
Yeah. I mean, I've said multiple times that I'm willing to take risks with my health because I've analyzed the risk factors for myself and my wife. We don't have kids. I don't have parents anymore. And we don't see her dad all that often. So the odds of us actually transmitting this disease to someone is fairly slim. But if my circumstances were different, my answer to a lot of these questions would be different. I mean, Rick, if I were in your place, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I can't go.
Yeah. I mean, in my case, at this point, I do 2, maybe 3 cons a year, so probably not going to be that big of a hardship. But yeah, I can understand. I mean,
Yeah.
Basically, your con schedule in my shoes, that would be a tough one.
Right. And that's before this. Because, look, I've come back with a whole lot of bronchitis or whatever you want to call it from a lot of different conventions.
Yeah, I think I love getting to meet people at cons and shake hands and take pictures and etc. And I think a lot of that is done for now. I'm still happy to pose and we'll do the air high fives, but from now on I think that vendor table is going to be a lot more of a barrier than it has been in the past for everyone's safety.
We're gonna turn into like we're gonna turn into like the celebrity corner where it's like, okay, here's an 8x10.
Yeah.
You can photograph Drew from across the food court, but you have to be quick. He runs when they put out the new pepperoni rolls. Oh, there he goes. There he goes.
Now, one of the other things that I think is going to really hurt the big autograph-centric conventions is that your A-list guests just aren't going to come. Mm. Or they won't be allowed to come. If you're shooting a movie, do you think the insurance company of that film is going to let you go to a 100,000 person event? No.
That's assuming they're shooting any movies.
Well, I mean, you're talking about conventions booking Jason Momoa, David Tennant, John Barrowman. These people are still working. Those are the folks that are drawing massive crowds. And those are the folks that have the ability to say, yeah, no, I'm staying home. The people who make most of their living going to conventions and selling 8x10s and doing photo ops, those folks need to go to cons. Mm. But those aren't the folks that are drawing 100,000 people.
Yeah, those are the folks that you pass and you're like, hey, I know that person. Let me try to get something. But you don't show up to a con to see, somebody who was on a TV show, 40 years ago.
Or even 10. I mean, like I met the guy who played Colonel Ty on Battlestar Galactica at a con. He was super nice. He's a really good actor. I really enjoyed his work. I wouldn't have paid $50 to go to a con to meet him. I also didn't pay $25 for.
But here's also the thing though, is those people, yes, they're the small timers at the big cons, but those are headliners at those small cons.
Yeah.
So that might be the place where they kind of survive.
Yeah.
Unless
it certainly could be.
Unless the social chain kind of collapses and you see the mid list, stars suddenly having to do those small cons, which winds up pushing, I guess, the C or D listers out.
A&D Con 2021, I'm going to bring a big cardboard cutout of myself, and you guys can take pictures next to that for $50. Or no, $10.
$50. There better be some holes cut out in that thing for me to use.
Don't worry, it'll be a really little hole. You won't be able to see it from 5 feet away.
On the plus side, we can throw it up on panels and pretend it's Rick.
I see Rick has nothing useful to offer again.
I think conventions can work if everyone just cosplays as those government agent guys from E.T. If you do that effectively, we're golden.
Yeah.
Or you can cosplay as Dustin Hoffman from Outbreak.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically anything in a hazmat suit.
Tons of anime, scarves and masks and all kinds of crazy shit.
Or those old-timey crow face things.
I mean, I've been cosplaying Billy the Kid every time I go to the grocery store for 6 weeks now or so.
Just to throw out a plug, but there's a guy in my gift, Savage Crow, I think Customs, I guess. He actually has been making custom leather versions of those crow masks for people.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'd love to wear one of those just to go to Walmart.
Yeah, how much does he charge for those?
I don't know.
All right. Well, if you are curious, go to Facebook and join Rick's group. It's a scavenger hunt. You gotta want it.
I can't wait for A&D Con 2021, sitting at a table looking out over a sea of plague doctors.
I think that would be
It's a
awesome.
real fucking nightmare.
You know, it's weird. I have that exact dream once a month on the full moon.
Yeah, Steve, do you have the masks up on our TeePublic store yet? Because just imagine, you can have Brandon Thighmaster sitting on your face.
Well, yeah. All of our products, I believe, do now have mask alternatives up on TeePublic. I put a couple up on the Facebook because I thought they looked cool. But yeah, if you want a A&D face mask, not quite as cool as a full leather plague doctor mask.
I don't know that Brandon Thighmaster, the Temple of the Many Fists one is pretty cool. It's like being pre-punched in the mouth.
Probably a little more summer appropriate too. I'm guessing a full leather mask in the heat is going to get a little bakey.
Yeah.
At least for those of us in the South.
Yeah. I couldn't do that shit. I mean, I can barely manage a cloth mask.
Yeah, I mean, I have this this crochet Cthulhu mask that I've been wearing like up over like an N95, and I had to like get something smaller a couple of weeks back because I was just like, I went out grocery shopping and I was like, all right, if it gets 1 degree warmer, this is going to kill me.
So stepping back from the con specifically, sort of looking at, we've talked about the next few years ahead. I'm in Texas, and so right now there is sort of a partial reopening going on around my state. I have taken advantage of tremendously little of it. I have basically been pretending it has not happened, with the exception of I researched a place that did a lot of sterilization and safety protocols, and I got a haircut. But there was ample gloves and sanitations and masks, as much as physically possible. So, that was sort of my. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say that was my threshold of, all right, if I can find a place that it's as safe as I can reasonably imagine it to be, I guess I have to get comfortable with that being the new haircut for the next few years.
Drew's wrapped in a plastic bubble, except for his hair.
Yeah, I'm not quite, but they were good. But so
we're
yeah,
not
that was
going to
kind of
say that Drew's vain about his hair, but the one thing that he risked his health and well-being over was a haircut.
all that and groceries, because I ain't going without my snacks.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah, and booze that goes with groceries. But sort of along that line of like the having to make peace with this is the next few years of my life, so I guess I just have to find the safest version possible. What are some things that you guys are kind of looking toward, be it a restaurant or a haircut or what have you, and what are some of the personal thresholds you're setting for when you'll feel comfortable going back to it?
I don't know. I'm kind of relieved that my family doesn't expect me to take them anywhere.
So Bevan's just riding this all the way through.
No, I'm kind of with him there. I mean, I have to say I haven't been getting a ton of work done lately, but it's not because I'm getting a whole bunch of hey, let's go out shopping requests.
Yeah, I went to. They recently relaxed the lockdown rules a little bit in England. Went around to see my kids. It's a beautiful summer's day. Lockdown's been relaxed a little bit. You want to go out for a walk? Fuck no. There's just. I don't even know if they realise there is a pandemic. There's just. They've just. The days are just blurring into one of. I think they're more internet than human now. Which I suppose is the future for all of us.
Yeah, my daughter is rocking the shit out of this pandemic. I mean, my son, he kind of misses hanging out with his friends, but he still plays, video games or whatever they do online and chats with them. And my daughter, though, she is like, she likes to draw. That's all she wants to do. And she'll talk with her friends, and we can hear her laughing from downstairs. This is the best time of her life.
That's it. They're going, why did we ever go outside?
As scary as this is for us, and I'm sure it is scary for kids a little bit, but you know, it also is just, imagine if you were a kid and spring break started and then just didn't stop. Because that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
The schooling seemed to be a doing the best everybody could with a sudden terrible situation. But, you know, that still translated to, I imagine, a lot of kids getting a lot more relaxed downtime.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how stupid they are in 5 years or whatever, but in the meantime, they seem fine.
Look, can we be honest for a minute? It's not like you really learn anything in basic education outside of, like, yes, math, yes, English, spelling, but once you're past those core essentials, a lot of the high school stuff is just about keeping you busy and teaching you how to be a good cog in a machine.
Yeah, well, I mean, middle school, like, but my daughter's social studies teacher in particular, he looks like he's like 14 years old, but he's amazing. Like, I never cared about social studies. My daughter certainly didn't, but she's loving his class. She knows a hell of a lot more about the Cold War than I do.
Yeah, middle school might still be in fundamentals. They might not want to miss too much of that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I asked a bunch of my educator friends once it became fairly obvious that we weren't going to see, that they weren't going to finish school this year. I was like, not for nothing, but how much do you guys actually teach in the month of May? They're like, yeah, not a whole lot. It's all testing.
My wife's been coming down pretty hard on my youngest. She was like, she was showing me today. She's like, here's what he did before. Here's the work he did before quarantine, and here's the work I've had him do after, and it's like 4 times as much.
God.
I get the same off my door. I don't know if she's just giving me spiel. Like, you finished that already? It's like, yeah, it's, you don't have to wait. You don't have to sit there listening for a teacher for 40 minutes before you do it. Well, maybe that's a bullshit line, or maybe it's not. Either way, you're cleverer than I am, so I'm backing away from this conversation.
Either you're succeeding in the system or you're learning to cheat the system, and either way, you're learning the lesson you're supposed to learn.
Yeah, and either way, you're getting away with it because the alternate is me checking your work, which, let's be honest, isn't going to happen.
Yeah. Learning to cheat the system is just another version of succeeding within the system.
That is depressingly true.
To swing it back around to my original, like, what are you kind of looking forward to? All right, Steve, I know you want the pub back. So when do you feel comfortable with that?
I moved into an apartment that is just across from my brother's small hotel/pub. And I've been thinking it's a very short walk to his beer garden. And I figure if I just give him a heads up and just say, I'm going to break into your beer garden with some supermarket beer and just get slowly drunk. And maybe just pretend there are other people. Just get drunk enough that maybe I forget I'm by myself in an unused beer garden.
You need to film that. Steve does The Shining.
Then I might not need the pubs to reopen. I can just go crazy all by myself.
The private pub. I like that. That's a good one.
None of the complications of human contact.
I kind of wonder if we might see a little bit of a return to some of the old, like, private dining clubs and stuff that you think of when you think of, like, the 50s and whatnot, because that would sort of be a way of charging a higher price to really rich people, and then, you know, you can easily control the amount of people in because of the exclusivity, and then the overhead is taken care of by the membership things.
Conversely, you might see on the other end what happens in Japan, where they have all these little, like, hole in the wall, one-man restaurants that have, like, maybe 3 seats in them.
Oh, I'd love that a lot more. I'd actually get the benefit from that one.
Heck, I'd be tempted to open one.
What would you serve, Rick?
Let's see here. I mean, I got my chili recipe. I make a pretty mean gumbo. I got my penne vodka recipe.
That is an eclectic menu, buddy.
You know, the thing is, Basically, you set it up almost like a non-mobile food truck. You show up, and this is what's on the menu, and that's what I'm making.
A non-mobile food truck, like some sort of brick and mortar building establishment.
In my garage.
I feel like Rick just reinvented the restaurant.
Put out two or three stools there, make a pot or two of stuff, and just be like, this is what I'm serving, this is what it costs. If you don't like it, go the fuck away.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure what I would think if I was walking and I saw a garage restaurant. I feel like I'd be a lot less open to it now than before.
I mean, it would be a lot. It's not really that different than buying beer from some dude at a half door on Bourbon Street. Those places selling drinks out of like a closet at the end of an alley.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot less sanitary preparation and touching of the ingredients that goes into pouring a beer than into cooking a whole meal in a garage. But then again, if they also serve cheap beer like at those Bourbon Street restaurants, quote-unquote restaurants, I might not give a shit after a few.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
All right, we got your business model ironed out, Rick.
yeah, it's like I cook something and I just have a couple jugs fermenting in the back of the garage.
Rick's new quarantine business is really taking off.
Rick's chili and winery. It's got to be
All
a better
right.
business model than being an author.
What isn't?
Yeah, well, it's not like we have a business model.
Yeah, it was the one of the few times that this business has been advantageous was, during all of this craziness, because at least we are accustomed to already working from home and having to cope with the productivity challenge therein.
Yeah.
Any tips for the folks out there struggling with this a little newer than us?
I actually did a whole video on it.
I wonder
trend.
where people could find that, John.
They could find that on the Falstaff Books YouTube channel. It was one of my writing life videos. But one of the biggest transitions that I had to go through when I became a full-time author, my wife hadn't worked outside the home for a while. So getting accustomed to me being home and still working was very difficult. It was, hey, I need you to come do this. Hey, I'm working. Oh, you're just sitting at the computer. That's how I pay our mortgage. That's not how you respond to that, by the way. Not if you don't want to get things thrown at you, like the cat.
No, I've had that same conversation.
So have I.
Yeah, creative work doesn't always look like work, and that can be challenging sometimes with other folks because, yes, it is fun. Like, I like writing and I like thinking about plots and storylines, but things that are fun can also be draining. Like, we're not surprised when someone who goes and plays a game of football is tired afterward. In the same sense, like, yeah, it takes things out of us to do this, even if it looks like should be a very breezy exercise.
Yeah.
And that's not even getting into all the mandatory drinking to cope with the crippling self-doubt and anxiety. Mandatory.
Oh, there's Drew's tip.
I think I've said mine before, but a routine is really good. You, as a person, are not used to a lack of structure. That's not the way our society is built. Basically, from the time you are a kid in school up through college or whatever sort of training program you get into a job with very scheduled hours, you are not used to being in control of your own time. And you will benefit greatly from setting some parameters for yourself and sticking to them. Because you see a lot of people who spin out and who write less once they go full time because they're just not used to organizing their own time effectively.
Yes. Pro tip. There's only so many times you can jerk off in one day.
Bullshit.
Bevan says aim for the stars, kids.
aim for the toilet.
I mean, Rick is technically right from just a chronological perspective. You can try and set a best, though. That is, you can race the clock.
Gotta know your limitations.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with basically saying, it's like, right about now, I'd be like, hanging out in the break room talking to people. But this is a hell of a lot more fun.
I mean, it is silly but relevant. Like, a lot of people, let's be honest, they write or they work on their own personal projects when they're bored at their day job. And it's a lot harder to be bored when you're at home with the ability to do or go or have whatever you want.
Yep. Especially if you have people at home who are there to make sure that, like, there's always something for you to do.
Bevan? John?
I was thinking it also like the whole thing, like, yeah, it's fun when your day job sucks and this is the alternative, and you're dreaming big and it's like, oh, what if this took off? But then when you quit your job and this is it, sometimes it's still fun. Most of the time it's still fun, but sometimes it's kind of scary because oh, this is not fun, but I gotta do it and I don't know what to write, and oh my god, like and then that can get counterproductive.
Oh yeah, and especially right now where the days are all melding together, where like, you have one bad day and it's like, okay, that's fine. Then suddenly you look up and you're like, I haven't written a goddamn thing all week.
I feel very
just to be clear though, I did have fun writing Critical Failures 8, which will soon be released. So
I feel like
don't
Rick
let
was
that
calling
worry
me
you.
out right there.
More like I'm calling myself out.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got a day job, obviously. And yeah, this kind of like editing the podcast and writing is a paid hobby to me. And it's great to have a hobby that also gives you money. But particularly in lockdown, working from home, sit in front of a computer all day for 8 hours, writing content. You think, I'll take a break. And then you'll kind of not go anywhere because you're in lockdown. And just sitting down at the same computer again, it's hard. It's draining.
It is.
It's really, sometimes I just sit in front of a blank Word document and go, the thought of starting this is actually exhausting. I'd rather go and do some fucking physical exercise or something outlandish than try and write another paragraph. So yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, it depends what you're doing. I remember back when I was doing very blue-collar stuff, delivery guy, machinist, not particularly creatively engaging, then coming back and writing was relaxing. But if you're doing a content creation job followed by a content creation hobby, you're kind of using the same muscles all day, I guess, is a good analogy. It does wear you out.
That's why you gotta have different aspects. Normally, and these are far from normal times, but normally, if like I have a day where I just can't handle writing, or I'm burnt out on it, I could go work on my website. I could work on some marketing and stuff. There's different aspects of this job to break it up. I'll admit I have not been the most productive since this started, and it's kind of just been one thing after the other. And like every week where I'm like, okay, I'm finally coming out of the woods, it's like, no, you're not. Here's another thing I'm going to throw at you.
It's really important to take a minute and recognize that is totally okay. Like, shit is not fucking normal right now, and you absolutely do not need to hold yourself to a standard as if you've suddenly been gifted actual summer vacation and infinite time. That's not what's happening. We're suffering through a fucking pandemic. That takes a toll, like we talked about earlier. Just because staying at home seems like it should be fun doesn't mean it's not reasonable that this is taking a toll.
So it's kind of one of those, like, I try to take that to heart. So it's kind of one of those, I am disappointed, like, if the day has not been productive, but beating myself up is just going to make it worse.
Yeah, I've been in the same place the past few days because I've I feel like I've been accomplishing the absolute minimum to keep my company running. And then I'm like, okay, but you're keeping the company running. I'm not writing right now. I want to be, but I can't quite make words. And that's just going to be the deal. I've got a new book coming out next week. I published a book on the 1st of this month. It might be a few months before I get another one done. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I am on the back end of writing the 5-Minute Sherlock books, and I'm in a good place because I know where it's going. Like, I've even got all the next chapters kind of bullet pointed out and everything. So like I've got it wrapped, and then I've got the vision in mind, and then it'll be a rough draft review and everything. But truly, like, after that, I'm really planning to take a few weeks and just let myself recharge, because this is one that publishes through Audible, so it works on a deadline system, not quite as fluid as some of my other ones. So yeah, like I'm keeping on task because like I need to just keep this train on the tracks, and I've got good tracks for it. But as soon as I'm done with it, there's definitely going to be a break, because I can feel the need for one.
I'm trying to use the motivation that my laptop screen broke this week, so I had to get a new one. So I'm using the motivation of, okay, motherfucker, you got to pay for this new laptop, because otherwise you're going to be eating it.
Oh, God.
I hear that if you cook them on 425 for about 20 minutes, they get real good and crispy.
I've had
Just
a lot of
sell it out of your garage.
I've had a lot of luck air frying the shit out of everything recently, so maybe give that a whack.
Well, I just opened my
big
grill
fucking
up.
air fryer. If you find an air fryer big enough to hold a laptop, send me the link, because I will buy that shit in a heartbeat.
Oh, tell me about it. I wound up giving my air fryer away because my family got me one as a gift, and it's a cool thing, but it basically, you could tell this thing was meant for one lonely person.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's because I cook a lot of shit in our air fryer.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I should cook other things.
I tried making like air fryer fried chicken for the family, and holy crap, it's like, just the time it took to just fit in like 2 like cutlets at a time.
Yeah. I can make a meal for Susie and myself and have enough leftovers for one of us to have lunch the next day. But that's about all we're getting.
I don't love the air fryer for cooking, but I tell you what, for reheating frozen stuff, it is the bomb.fucking-com. I mean,
I'm actually looking forward to reheating my lunch in the air fryer because I had fried fish.
Ooh.
And I'm like, oh yeah.
It crisps shit up so good.
Put that shit in there for about 5 minutes. We'll be rocking.
It's gonna be wild, but bagel bites in an air fryer are worlds above any other version. Like, even fuck the oven, because they taste like actual bagels. Crispy on the outside, soft on the... Now, let's be clear. They're bagel bites bagels. They're not good bagels. Like, let's keep those expectations real. But they have the appropriate texture for bagels. And you're like, oh, I get why these are supposed to be so good.
Yeah, except in most air fryers, it's like, okay, let me cook 3 at a time.
I've got a Ninja, and it's big enough to do like a good 7 or 8-ish. So... you got to do them in batches while your friends are hungry, bit by bit.
We're moving into summertime. Right. I figure eventually I'll just like put them on a plate and just leave it outside in the sun. Nature's air fryer.
In the future, kitchens are just 15 air fryers lined up.
and an Instapot.
And one Instapot for the slow cook.
Yeah. One Instapot.
All right, so we have talked a lot about some of the the bummers and the hardships that are looking ahead, but let's end on a little bit of a more positive, upbeat note. what are some things we would love to see ourselves pull off at Authors and Dragons Digital Con 2020? The one we're going to be putting together for folks to access.
I want a big fucking celebrity guest to come on and play.
Now, when you say that, are you saying big as in like the amount of notoriety, or big as in like a professional wrestler? Because I'd almost rather the second.
Why can't it be both?
I would be down with both. Ladies and gentlemen, The Rock. No.
I have one in mind, so.
All right, that would be a hell yeah. I think that's a good one. I tell you what, I think I would love to do is like to try and find a way to pick some folks from probably our Discord, to be perfectly frank, because that's the most fan engagement area, but folks to run that module we did last time. So we have a module that we ran at A&D Con 2019, where all of the players were various DMs for their respective groups, and it was a lot of fun. And I think I'd love to find a way to put together an easy access digital version for replicating this time around. So that's going to be a personal project for me.
I mean, the opportunity here that wasn't at the last one. I mean, just some of the online games we've been playing with. I think are going to be fun to just do with other people.
If anyone hasn't watched the Mysterium episode on our YouTube channel, and that will only be on the YouTube because it's a very visual game, so it would be kind of pointless for us to put a podcast of it. It's a lot of fun. I would highly recommend you go check it out. youtube.com/authorsanddragons.
As for me, I don't really have an answer. I am kind of excited about seeing what a digital con's going to be.
That was a really positive way of saying I don't know.
Well, we've thanks to all the live power hours we've been doing with our Discord on the weekends, it's safe to say we've got at least some manner of bar activity option. So that's a socialization bit that feels like it would be the Robert Bevan enjoyment level.
A&D Con 2020, 3 full days of power hours.
One long power hour. Oh, God.
I think
It's a power 72 hours.
Oh, God. Rick, you and I are such lightweights. And given the candy beer that we drink, I don't know what would kill us first, alcohol poisoning or diabetes.
Why not both?
Truly a contest for the ages.
It's anyone's game.
Fuck you, coronavirus. I'm dying of diabetes.
You'll never take me alive. I'm like Bevan, interested to see what a digital con's gonna look like. I mean, we've played enough kind of games, and the Mimic Chess means we've done really quite a lot of varying formats of stuff. I think we've explored most of the avenues of what you can do talking bullshit online. So I think we've got enough in our arsenal to pull off a digital con.
In a strange way, we've kind of been training for this all these years.
This is our time. I think what I'd like to see is getting other people on board. Maybe people who don't expect it as much. Maybe bring back some favorites from the side quests and from the mimic chests. Yeah, and revisit some of the people we've had the pleasure of talking to and on the run of the podcast, and maybe find some new people.
That'd be an excellent addition.
Bruce Campbell. Yeah, throw that one out there.
All right, so Steve is getting Bruce Campbell for Authors and Dragons Digital Con, and if Bruce isn't there, it's on Steve. Everybody, you heard it.
Oh, dear. I'm sure he'd be fine. I mean, nobody's doing anything, are they? So Don't tell me you're out, Bruce. No one's out.
Boy, what a fucking get if Steve surprises us all with a come through on that one.
I don't know. Stephen Colbert plays D&D.
We should get a special foreword by R.L. Stein.
Maybe we could get Vin Diesel to speak. Nah, fuck Vin Diesel.
Let him have his silence, Steve. Let him have it.
The more frequently you say fuck Vin Diesel, the more likely we are to get The Rock. All right?
Oh, man.
Y'all decide, but I know.
Well, listeners, if any of you are celebrities, feel free to reach out to us.
What the fuck are you doing listening to us?
I guess life is taking some turns, but hey, reach out to us. We're looking to fill guest spots for A&D Digital Con.
J.K. Rowling is listening to us in her closet. Like, they know.
We know your schedules are clear.
And possibly more realistic, if anybody listening to us knows any celebrities.
And we can have pretty loose definitions of celebrities, so...
I guess we should also say, if you've got anything you'd like to see in a DigiCon, do get in touch. Contact us at Facebook, or if you're part of the Patreon, on our Discord. We're not saying we'll do your ideas. Your ideas might be ridiculous. In fact, they probably will be ridiculous. But, please do feel free to put
Ridiculous
them
isn't
forward.
necessarily bad.
Yeah.
I think you meant to say they might be shit.
Oh, yeah. Well. They might be shit, that's true.
Batman displaying his patented anti-tact.
It's one of those, if it's shit, we're not doing it. And if it's really good, oh, look, we already thought of this.
The corporate one. Oh. All right, folks. Well, that is our update on cons and COVID. And, man, good luck, Steve, naming this fucking episode.
Cons and COVID. I think you just did.
There we go. So, thank you all for joining us. Sorry we had to be the bearers of such bad news, but hopefully we're still going to find a way to make that weekend as fun as possible. Thank you all for...
We're
Good.
the bad news bearers.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, everybody. We will see you next week on a regular episode of Authors and Dragons. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye.